the stand. Now he runs. He produces a magic print. He pulls out another one. This is incredible. This is ridiculous. This is 15 out of 10 on the incredible meter. What a player. What an entertainer. Give him the medal. Give him the Dally M medal.
Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast. Sunday is now upon us, which means we are here to do our previews for the two games we have left of round 3 of the NRL Telstra Premiership. So we won't waste too much longer. Let's get straight into it with the first game of this Sunday. That, of course, being the Eels taking on the Manly Sea Eagles at 4:05 p.m. at CommBank Stadium in Sydney. So this one is, of course, an Eels game, but these two teams are not too far away from each other in Sydney. There's always a bit of a rivalry between the Sea Eagles and the Eels, so it's an exciting one to go here, especially with how the teams have started the 2024 season. So once again, we're just going to start by going through the team list news, the ins and outs for both of these sides. Then we'll get into the previews, the tips, the matchups, bets, etc. So starting with the Eels, they have Bailey Simonson is out with a concussion, so he misses this game, hopefully just the one game with the 11-day stand-down policy. So Morgan Harper has been moved to the wing, and Blaze Talangi, the young, exciting rookie, has been named in number 4 at centre to make his NRL debut for the Parramatta Eels. Very exciting. This is someone they have a lot of raps on coming through their grades. They're not even sure where his best position is. He's just an out-and-out footballer, and to get him in there is very exciting. It might be the answer to their centre conundrum that they've had for a couple years now. If not, maybe he's the successor to Clint Gutherson going into the future. He has been playing a bit of fullback starting this year, so we'll have to see how he goes, but I'm very excited to see his debut for the Eels in this one, of course named at number 4, as I said. For the rest of the team, there's not too much to note. Of course, Junior Paulo named at 10, starting front rower, but as he has the last couple of games of the 24 season, he has started from the bench, so I'd expect the same here. You'd expect Joe Offahengawi to come on and actually start in that role, despite the fact he's named on the interchange, but we'll have to see come game time. I assume that is how they're going to line up, though. When it comes to the Manly Sea Eagles, Tommy Talau, of course, is missing this game. He did his ankle. Apparently, he was named in the reserves, sorry, not even apparently. He was named in the reserves, so it doesn't seem to be as severe as we initially thought, which is great news for Tommy Talau. Had a pretty darn good debut for the Manly Sea Eagles, but he's been replaced nonetheless by Raymond Tuimalo Vaega on the wing. Of course, we've all seen Vaega a bit. Absolute bustling. He's just the round mound of rebound of Charles Barkley sort of mould. He's a massive human on that wing. And he's got some pace. He obviously had that in the trials. He picked up that ball and almost ran the length if it wasn't for Dominic Young running him down. But I didn't expect him to have the pace he had for such a solidly built human. But he's got a bit of pace about him, which is what you want in the wing. But regardless, he comes on to start in the number 2 jersey. The rest of the Sea Eagles team is as the previous week. No changes there. Of course, Josh Schuster has made his return from injury last week, playing New South Wales Cup. Hasn't made their squad here, and now with the trimmed reserves, hasn't made their reserves either. Oh, sorry. With the other thing to note for the Parramatta Eels is that Brendan Hands was actually dropped for this game, and Luca Moretti comes in at number 14, so he's going to get his first chance of the season to show what he can do. Kelma Talangi, who we all thought was going to be out for an extended period with what looked like a dislocated shoulder, has also still been named and retained at number 17, so that's also good news for the Eels. Back to the Sea Eagles, as I said, there's nothing really to note, just the Vaega switch with Tommy Talau. So we'll move on from that, and we will get into the previews for this one. Of course, the tip that I have done for this game is the Parramatta Eels. Very much something I'm not sure of. I've been really impressed with how both of these teams have started the season. Manly, of course, knocking off some big guns in the opening 2 weeks and doing so looking really, really well. So they're definitely a threat. The Eels did get a loss last week against the Penrith Panthers in one of my favourite games already of the season. I thought it was such a good game to watch. So going to be a difficult one to really tip. I've just picked the Eels because coming into the season, I was more high on them than I was the Sea Eagles. I may have to, rethink that a bit, but only round 3, only 2 games having been played for these teams so far. Let's give it a little bit more time before I start actually getting into the nitty-gritty of where these teams are going to fish on the ladder. For now, I'm just going to back the Eels in, but very much not confident, and honestly, I don't mind if either team wins. I'm just here for a good game of footy, which I expect us to get because these are 2 really good teams in 2024. But yes, the tip for this one is the Eels. If they are to win this one, I think it goes through the forward pack. Manly have stood up really well this season. Their forward pack has been immense, especially in games where they shouldn't be winning, against forward packs that they shouldn't be winning against. They have done such a good job. But this Parramatta Eels forward pack, as we all know, is one of the best in the competition. And I think that they can get the better of the Sea Eagles here. I think the injection of Junior Paulo 20, 25 minutes into the contest is just such a good thing for the Eels. I've been raving on about it all season so far. But if they can match it or win the opening 20 and then you inject someone like Paulo, not to mention you've got people like Ryan Madison off the bench as well, then it bodes well to keep winning the rest of the contest. In saying that, Manly have had their own spark of injection off the bench with Nathan Brown, who you all know I've been raving about all season. He's one of my favourite signings of the year. I love how he fits in with this Manly pack. Of course, going up against his former club. Of course, he had the little stint with the Roosters last year, but played the majority of his footy with this Parramatta Eels side. So he'll be looking to rip and tear as he always does. But yeah, I'm just going to back in the Eels forward pack to get it done. As I said, if they can match it or beat the Manly forward pack in that 20-25 minutes, the opening 25, and then you inject Ryan Madison and you inject Junior Paulo, assumedly he's going to start from the bench, then I think you're in good stead to continue that trend. And we know what their team can do off the back of a winning forward pack. They've got so many weapons across the park. Dill Brown and Mitch Moses look like they're in some of the best form of their lives, in complete control. And meanwhile, you've got the talent of Clint Gutherson, your captain at the back, Will Penasini in the centres, and of course the young gun Blaze Talangi, who we are very, very excited to see. So I'm going to back the Eels in and hope that their forward pack can win this one. But it's always going to be hard to stop this Manly team, especially with what they've shown so far in 2024. If Manly were to win this, I think it also has to come through their forwards. They've, as I said, been very impressive with how they've played. They've stood up to forward packs that look a lot stronger than them on paper, and they've dominated them, and that's phenomenal. And if you can do that, the same sort of thing I was saying with the Eels halves, these Manly halves of Cherry Evans and Brooks have started the season really, really well. And then you've got the explosive talent out in the backs of Tolutau Kula, Ruben Garrick with their pace, and of course, the fullback Tom Trbojevic. When he's on, he is the best player in our game, and I don't know how you stop him. Last week, he didn't score a try and still was one of the best fullbacks in the entire round. So excited to see this one. As I said, I have no idea how it's going to go. I'm just hoping for a good game, and I expect we will get that from these sides. So, before we get into the bets, we'll look at a matchup. Now, of course, you can always look at the fullbacks because you want to match Tom Trbojevic with anyone. And Clint Gutherson, while very different players, they're so instrumental to their sides, and I love what they bring to their respective sides. But I'm going to look a bit further into these teams. I can keep looking at the 5/8 duel, Dylan Brown and Luke Brooks. I think every time I've previewed Parramatta, the 5/8 duel has been the one I've talked about because I've been so big on Dylan Brown. You know, I might do it again here because I'm so big on Luke Brooks and I love the way he's fitting into this Manly side as well. But I'm going to go a bit different, and I am going to go that bench battle. I think when Nathan Brown and, Ryan Madison sort of get injected, I think that is going to be the battle. I'm excited to see how these benches swing the impact, swing the momentum for their sides. Can they do it? Let's find out. That's my matchup for this one. The bench as a whole, but if you want the individual battles, probably Nathan Brown and Ryan Madison, who will slot probably into those lock sort of roles, or at least, in the middle regardless. So that's the one I'm looking forward to most there. Beyond that, as I said, the 5/8 duel, Dylan Brown, Luke Brooks, really excited for that one too. But for the bet for this one, I have just got Parramatta Eels head-to-head. Very, very close odds in this one. So who knows? Not my most confident bet because I'm not the most confident in the outcome of this game. But I've just thrown the Eels in as a head-to-head bet. You've got to bet on a winner. You can't sit on the fence. I got Luke Brooks as an anytime try scorer. He just looks so dangerous. He's gone close about 3 times in both games so far this season. I love it. Love how he's looking. And he's still got really good odds for him. I think he was in that $4 range. Of course, I'm betting through Sportsbet, once, as we all know. Some of these markets might not be available through other betting agencies. Jesus, that was a struggle. Some of these markets may not be available through other betting agencies. And even if they are, the odds might be completely different. So if you're wanting to follow along with me, do it through the Sportsbet app. Not affiliated in any way. They're just the agency I choose to bet through. But yeah, sorry, getting back to this bet. Eels head-to-head. Luke Brooks, anytime try scorer. I really like the value in him. And I've got the match going over 42.5 total match points. Not my most confident, but again, these two sides have so much attack in them. I could see it being a 26-all bloody draw, and that's going over that total match points. So I don't mind that as the final leg. The odds for that one are $15. So if you're putting $1 on that and all 3 of these legs get up, you win $15 back to the dollar. So not bad odds at all. Just slap a few bucks on if you've got to. Only bet where you can afford to lose. If you want to ride this, let's enjoy it. And if you want to interact with me while we do it, the best place to do so is to follow my Instagram at Chip and Chase Podcast. Then swing me a message there and we can ride this and have a chat about it together. But that is the bet for this one. I will just quickly gloss over it again. We have Parramatta Eels head-to-head, Luke Brooks anytime try scorer, and the match going over 42.5 total match points. So that concludes the preview for the Eels and the Sea Eagles. We'll move on to the final game of the round and the final game of this Sunday, that being the Newcastle Knights taking on the Melbourne Storm, 6:15 p.m, McDonald Jones Stadium. So, Knights home game. They've started the season, as we know, not in the best form. They're 0-2 to start this season. Meanwhile, the Storm are 2-0, beating the Penrith Panthers and the New Zealand Warriors, 2 heavyweights of our competition, and the Melbourne Storm stand up as they always do. Now, we'll start by just going through the team list as we do. There are a lot of changes across both of these teams, so we'll get right into them. First of all, Greg Marju for the Knights. He is out. Can't remember exactly what the injury was. I think it's a wrist injury. Looking at it like almost a 4 to 6 week spell for him. I think it was around that. But he's replaced by Inari Tuala, who returns on the wing. Tom Jenkins retaining his spot, obviously. So there's the first change for the Knights. The big one, of course, being that Jackson Hastings has been dropped to New South Wales Cup, and he's replaced by Jack Cogger at halfback. I've sort of let my opinions known on that. I don't like the change. I thought Jackson Hastings has not been the problem for the Knights so far this season. I think Tyson Gamble has been far, far poorer, and I'm not saying that as a hater to Tyson Gamble. I think Tyson would know that he has not been in his best form to start this season. And, maybe you don't make that change because you think Cogger and Hastings are too like for like, but I think to win games, you just need the best players on the field, and I thought Cogger might have got the jump on Gamble at 5/8. Regardless, they've chosen to drop Jackson Hastings, so that's the way this team is going to line up. Beyond that, they've got a few late changes for them. Jaden Brayley makes his long-awaited return from injury for the Newcastle Knights. He's named on the bench at number 14. Phoenix Crossland still starting at 9, but you'd expect Jaden to ease into the game and get a few minutes here and there. Beyond that, Matt Croker and Dylan Lucas have been added late into the game at the expense of Jack Hetherington and Jed Cartwright, who drop out. So, in terms of Supercoach, if you went Kai Pearce-Paul, you're a bit worried now with Dylan Lucas on that bench. He's back from his head knock. Always expected him to get in. But those are the changes for the Newcastle Knights. So, we will move on to the Melbourne Storm. They've also got a late change, but we will get to that. The main change for this team is, of course, the suspension of Jerome Hughes. He is missing 1 game for the push on the referee. He's replaced by Tyron Wishart at halfback. Still no Cameron Munster, so the halves are Jonah Pezza and Tyron Wishart. Pretty inexperienced, but let's see if they can lead this Storm team around. I expect Pappenhausen and Grant to have increased roles in this side and try and do the absolute most to get them the chockies here. But that's the first change there. No Jerome Hughes. When we go into the forward pack, Sean Bloor has been a late inclusion to start at second row. Joe Chan is out with a hand injury. Not quite sure how long that one's expected to keep him out, but really cool to see Sean Bloor make his debut for the Storm. Absolute gun coming through the younger grades, and I'm so excited to see how he progresses under Craig Bellamy. Beyond that, Kane Bradley has been named at number 14, so he is in for this game. And Tepai Maroa is also in at the expense of Christian Welch. So that is how the Melbourne Storm line up in this one. Also important to note, Welch is out with, I believe, a concussion. He has not been dropped. He is just out with a concussion, I believe. So that is how the Melbourne Storm line up. Two vastly different sides, two sides on opposite ends of the spectrum come 2024 season so far. And surprisingly, I have tipped the 0-2 team, the Newcastle Knights, to come away with a victory here. Not my most confident, but I'm sort of growing in more confidence with it each and every day, each and every hour, to be honest. I just think back at home, starting disappointing. The Knights, they have one of the best fan bases in the NRL when they're on and when they're at the McDonald Jones Stadium. As I said, it acts as another player out in the field for them. When the crowd is supporting them, they're going to want to pay that back to them, especially after the disappointment of the season so far. I'm not sure how this Hastings Cogger change affects the team. I think Cogger into the team is just a great addition. I love the fact he is in there. As I said, I don't agree that Hastings should have been the one dropped. But regardless, I think Cogger is going to open up that team and open up Kalen Ponga especially. So I'm excited to see how that happens. I think Kalen is going to have a really big impact on this one. He's going to look to repay the Knights faithful and show they're still the Dally M player of the year. So my tip for this one is the Knights. How I see it playing out, I'm not quite sure. I think it might just be the inexperience of the Storm halves that maybe give the Knights the edge in this one. You can say there's inexperience in Tyson Gamble and Jack Cogger as well, but they're more mature in their age, they're more mature in their roles. Maybe not in their roles with this side, but I think Cogger knows how to play rugby league regardless. He's going to do the same role in whatever footy club he is in. He's going to come in, he's going to bring great direction. They're going to play expansive footy, and I think they're going to look really good with him steering the ship. And because of that, I just think that they have the attacking weapons to cross in this one. Of course, no Greg Marju was a big out for them, but Kalen Ponga, he can make any winger look like the best winger in the NRL. So I see them just winning this one. If they do lose the forward pack battle, it's going to be a hard ask. But the Storm, of course, we know that they don't have the strongest forward pack on paper. If they come out and play to the best of their ability, they can beat the Knights here. But also on the same token, if the Knights come out and play to the best of their ability, they can beat the Storm forward pack here. It always comes down to forward packs, realistically. If your forward pack's not laying a platform, it's really hard to make stuff happen off the back of that. But we'll have to see how this one plays out. I just like the Knights at home and coming off a bit of an adversity. They're going to be up for this one. So moving into the bets. We'll move into the matchups. I always forget my matchups. It's got to be Ryan Pappenhausen and Kalen Ponga. Two players, two exciting fullbacks of our game, both with ins and outs across their spine. They're just going to have to take a bigger role in this one if they're to get their team the Chockies. And I'm just really excited to see how their speed and how their agility matches up. I think they're both in for massive, massive games. Ryan Pappenhausen has definitely started the better of the two players so far this season, which is great to see for Pappenhausen and one of my favourite players in the NRL. So good to see him back. But we know what Kalen Ponga can do. As I said, he is the reigning Dally M medalist. He's going to look to have a big influence on this result. So I'm really excited to see how those two match up. You can look across the park in other positions, but that one is out and out my favourite matchup of the game, which leads us into the bets. So, of course, the first leg is Newcastle head-to-head. Also pretty close odds. I actually think the Knights might have snuck in to be favourites coming into this game, but not by much at all. But I still think it was around that $1.86, $1.90 range for the Knights to win this one. So not bad value on the Knights head-to-head. I've got Kalen Ponga, we just spoke about. I've got him as an anytime try scorer in this one. Hasn't scored a try so far in 2024. I see him crossing in a big way in this one. And I've got the match going under 40.5 total match points. Not my most confident bet, but I think The Storm were always a gritty side. We know how these teams shaped up last year. I was at that game. It was such a great game to watch. The Knights scored a few points on them. I don't think the Storm are going to, fall flat defensively. I think they're going to be up for this one. If the Knights are to come away with a win, I expect it to be a close-ish game, and I do expect it to be under that 40.5 total match points. It's not my most expansive multi, this one. The odds of which coming to $8.25. So if you're putting $1 on that and all legs get up, you win $8.25 back to the dollar. Once again, all done through Sportsbet. I'm not affiliated and only bet what you can afford to lose. Gamble responsibly. It has to be said every time. Gambling is not just something that you do every day. You can't bet what you can't afford to lose. So that one concludes the Sunday previews. Of course, only the 2 games this one, so it's a little bit shorter than most, but I've tried to extend it out and get as much content as I can in this podcast. So if you've tuned into the end, thank you guys for listening in. Once again, I will plug the Instagram. We've got big things coming on it, and even if I don't, if you want to follow these bets and you want to follow along and you want to interact with me, that's the place to do it, at Chip and Chase Podcast on Instagram. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.